Apparently, streaming to LinkedIn failed. Classic. Getting the windows resized here. Isn't it the way with all these live streams? It's like, get your tech stuff done first and then start streaming. No. Nope. That's fine. We'll fix it in post. There is no post. My microphone is in the way of my keyboard, and I can't type very well without looking at my keyboard. Right. All right. So there we go. No one's watching. No one saw that. No one look at me. Stop looking at me. He said, staring into a camera, mostly into a camera. All right, I can share my screen. Look at all this stuff. Oh, now I got to copy that over to LinkedIn. Okay. You know, one of these days, technology is going to work for us. No, it's not. All right. So how do I make a link to it? Okay, so there's chat. Where's the link? Live stream. Okay, so how do I share this link? Come on, Riverside. Invite. Ah, there we go. Copy. All right, let's see what happens. The good thing is that once I'm in the YouTube studio, I can trim off all this beginning stuff. Set my brand, set my name. That's done. Media. Wait. Oh, drum joke. No. Layout. Speaker split screen. Sure. People. Chat. There is no chat. What if someone's chatting on YouTube? Does it come in here? Mm-hmm. Let's go to my YouTube channel. Does YouTube even know that I'm live streaming? Yes. All right, cool. All right. I don't know if this is going to work. Okay. So the reason, well, one of the reasons, the primary reason, let's start that sentence over. The primary reason that I'm doing this today is because the recording that should have gone up today is missing half of its content. And I didn't realize that until um, Wednesday, 2 days ago. And because I just put off editing, and I got about 15-20 minutes in and realized that the last half of it was just gone and there was no way to recover it. So I didn't have time to to edit one of the two that I've already recorded. And I'm trying to stick to a schedule of releasing something every 2 weeks so that I make a habit of doing it. And since I didn't have anything to do and Riverside has this go live function, I figured I'd give it a try. I don't know exactly what I want to talk about today. I was kind of hoping people would show up. I think given the late nature of it and the fact that I didn't tell anyone until after I'd already hit the go live button, that probably no one's going to show up because, y'all are busy. And if I post something on LinkedIn, it might be seen, but it has an external link, a link away from LinkedIn. So, of course, they're going to suppress it or limit its viewability. And if I post on Blue Sky, that is rarely gets any reactions from the stuff that I post because everything's on fire right now. So, of course, what everyone else is talking about is more important to be talking about than design and research and product management stuff. But this is also something that I do and something that I try to make a living with and something that a lot of other people do as well. So why not have an outlet for that too? Even though I recognize that it's not really the focus right now. So it's that sort of self-imposed stick to a schedule every 2 weeks makes sense to me, which is why we're here. And it looks like 2 people are watching. Hi. I think this is what I get when I tend to see streamers who are already have like an audience built up, and so they're like responding to their chat while they're playing games, and so it must be very weird to be a streamer and be talking to the ether like this. But I guess one of the things that I can accomplish today, if nothing else, is to talk a little bit about why I do this channel, or why I do this show. And I guess the biggest reason, is this the biggest reason? Yeah, it probably is that I am in my house alone a lot. And new chat message, it's not showing me the chat message. It just says that there is a new one. Live stream chat. Howdy. Okay, there we go. Ooh, howdy. Johanna? Johanna? I can see it both ways. Joanna. Howdy. So part of the reason, the main reason I do this is because I'm on my own a lot, and I know a lot of cool people, and I'd like to talk to them about what they do and what they're interested in. And so I wanted to start, doing the show, and it gives me an excuse to reach out and talk to these people. I would say a lot of the people that I'm talking to are not usually the go-to people, not go-to people, the usual suspects, whatever. Um, like they're not super famous in the industry, but I also think that they're really interesting. And you know, I guess what we're saying is enough out of Steve Portigal. Oh man, that would be way funnier if Steve was actually here. But seriously, enough out of that guy, and he'd probably agree with me. But so that's the thing, is like I want to talk to these people. I want to have good conversations with them that aren't a, totally agenda driven. Like when, for the most part, I think the conversations um, that I've had, I've done very little setup for for the interviews, and it's basically like, yeah, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. And if they have something they want to talk about, we'll talk about it. But otherwise, just let the conversation go where it goes. And I find that much more interesting to essentially do a improv version of an interview, right? It's just, we're just, the way I say it to people is, I just want to talk with you and have you talk with me, and we just happen to be recording it and sharing it later with people. But don't talk to the camera, as it were. Like, let's talk to each other and let the audience enjoy voyeuristically. Uh, Joanna says, you may have already mentioned it. How often do you plan on streaming? I've never done it like this before, so who knows? I do so much better when I have other people to play off of. It. I do not like talking head videos. I've been sitting on a show explainer video for 6 months because I just cannot bring myself to record it, because talking at a camera like this is really weird. I'd rather talk to people than technology. Um, yeah. So anyway, it's just, and I've noticed that over the past, so there's 11 or 12 episodes up, and the first few episodes I had a lot more structure to it, and then I think it was probably my talk conversation with Stacey Westbrook, which is like the 7th episode, I think 8th episode, where we just dove right in, and I was like, oh, this is much better. I like the idea of not knowing where this is going, which is part of the thing with the streaming. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen today, and hooray! And Joanna's here, so that's enough. Thank you, Joanna, for giving my life meaning. Um, yeah, but beyond that, it's just it's just, we'll talk about what we want to talk about, and and I really regret this most recent technical snafu happening. The person I was talking to lost their internet, and when they rejoined the session, it didn't record that part of the session on their end. So that's 25 minutes of me talking and then pausing and then answering a question, and you don't get what the other person said, which is very frustrating. But we had talked about doing a part two anyway, because I think in the initial edit, I cut out like the first 10 or 12 minutes anyway, because we were really all over the place, like too much all over the place, and some of it was technology based. Um, so, but I would say most of the conversations I've had so far, there's barely any editing that I do. I spend most of my editing time um, making sure that the transcript is correct, which it often isn't in very weird ways. Even though I do appreciate generally that Riverside offers the auto transcript aspect or auto transcript feature, um, but I still kind of miss having someone do it, someone who's a professional transcriptionist. The last iteration of the show, the We Can Do Better, um, which is also still on YouTube somewhere that I did 5 years ago. I spent, you know, I would spend money to have someone via rev.com do the transcript, and it was perfect. It put in, the laughter in parentheses, music in the background, and it was good captioning. Um, Riverside does okay, and it's part of what I pay for. So, but most part, for like I said, most part it's they're unedited. Um, so, and I kind of like it that way. I like the more slice of life. It's not cinema verite, but it is a recording of the thing that happened rather than scripted, and I like that. Work with me, Joanna. What do you got today? If you're still there, that's one thing I can't tell is like if there are actually people. I see the number one next to something here, but it doesn't really tell me anything. See, that's one of the things with this too is I think if I do this again, I need to have the I might have to come up with some things to do while so there's no dead air because this is basically radio, right? The previous recordings, let's see. Hold please. We can do better. Let's see. So this, I'll put it in chat. Try to. There we go. That's the previous iteration of my podcastery, I guess. And let me grab videos. And this is the current one. If you just came across this randomly, these are the interviews that are me talking with other people. And the first link, the Curious Zebras, is a show that I did with a friend of mine, colleague of mine, and it was more like we'd have topics we'd talk about. There's a few interviews in there, but for the most part, it was just like I linked someone to our conversation about is UX certification worth it. This was 5 years ago when certification was a thing, and it probably still is to some extent. But the long and short of it is we weren't very interested in it. And yes, Abby, watch the one with Abby because it definitely fits the definition of we have no idea where this conversation is going, and it was enjoyable getting there. Oh, interesting. I just checked out the chat on the YouTube part of this and it shows the links. All right. Go Riverside. Yeah, I recommend the Abbey one. I recommend them all. I think the Abbey one, the Zara one, I think those have been my favorites so far because I think they were the most, I apologize for saying this, organic. And they went places that were unexpected. And all the other conversations have been great, but those have been my favorites so far for giving me what I want because I'm the only person who matters. Are you working on any other projects? What's making you excited to get up in the morning? Joanna, I haven't been excited to get up in the morning since 1973. What? Oh, what a. I don't. It's not in reach. Um, I don't have any UX related projects that I'm excited to work on right now. Um, I've been doing coaching, and that's been fun. But yeah, not really a lot of UX activity. It's been a really slow year. I would classify as underemployed for a year next week. And yeah, it's just leads are picking up, but people are still slow walking to signing contracts. And separately from that, I've done written books, and I've been trying to do 2 books a year. I started in 2022. I'm trying to do 2 books a year until 2032. And so far, I've done 5 books instead of 6. Last year, I only did 1. This year, I've got 3 on deck. I'm making limited progress on them. Luckily, they're collaborative things, so I have other people to help lift as well. But yeah, basically, stress is getting me up in the morning. And sometimes it keeps me in bed, which is not great, but is what it is. So, I mean, sorry, I meant outstanding. Everything's great. Hey. Yeah, I keep forgetting that sometimes people don't want the real answer. I should ask that more often. Which answer do you want? But no one ever says, I want the fake answer. They always say, I want the real answer. And I don't believe that they do. So I should do them a solid. And does anybody say that anymore? Do that a solid? I don't think so. I'm just showing how old I am. Yep. I was talking with somebody on Wednesday about the most recent book, which, why not? I'll link you. Um, that's the most recent book. But we were talking about how I think part of the reason the sales are not going as well as they have with the other books is the title. Because I think people are a little off put by something that says Neighborhood of Dead People. But it is central to the story, and I wouldn't change it. Let's see. All right, Joanna, you're saving me today. You can email me at matthew@studiovo.co, and I'll send you a book. It doesn't have to be the dead people one. Um, would you be open to sharing your book writing process? 2 books a year sounds difficult. Well, I cheated. I'll put my vo.co. Put my email in the thing. Do you brew your coffee with your tears? Because that would be amazing. Yeah, what is my writing process? So I cheated, right? I cheated, and I had work from long ago. Like, I have a book of poetry, but basically what I did was I wrote 5 new poems, and the rest of the book is stuff that I've written over my life, and I tidied some of them up, well, a lot of them up. Some of them are very good. Some of them are okay. There's a couple that are kind of terrible, but I put them in anyway, because ship it. And the novel was something that I had worked on previously. So I did cheat a little bit to get a head start on this stuff, but it's the thing that I realized, and I told the story before, but you haven't heard it, so I'll tell you. The it would have been December of 2021, had some friends visit, and they're artists. James did this piece right here. And as we are wont to do, we talk about art. And I was talking about how, like, I struggle with painting. I struggle with blank canvases. And that made me start thinking about how much I struggle with blank pages. And then just through the conversation, I realized that the biggest barrier to me working on these projects was working on these projects, which sounds a little bit weird, I think, but it is, uh, yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that's so basic, it's true. I wasn't making the time or taking the time to do the work. If I watch 4 fewer YouTube videos a day, that's, with some of the things that I watch that tend to be on the longer side, that's an hour of time that I could be writing. And when I write, I find it pretty easy. Like, I can get 500 to 1,000 words done in a half hour. It's not a big deal. The biggest barrier is beginning. And I know that there are some writers who are appropriately out of the spotlight these days, but um, I think it's probably Neil Gaiman's writing advice of put one word after the other and just keep going. Like, that's it. You just write. Um, I think the biggest thing, as with any art, is to know when you're done. And um, I think because of my day job, there's a little bit of what I'm putting out in the world that I feel like it's done enough. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be good. Um, and so I really don't want to get overly precious with my writing. I'd rather have it out there and getting reactions from people and taking that and into future projects. So, not to undervalue the effort that it takes to put together a picture book, but it is a little easier to do a 44-page picture book than it is to do a 200, 300-page novel. And so, with my goal of doing 2 projects a year, um, I'm also picking projects that I think I can do. So some of the novels that I'm working on, I probably won't, I'll work on them for the next couple of years, but the ones that I put out are going to be things that are easier to put out faster, which is why this year there's a UX book, research based on our UX research book. But that is based off the class that I put together with my friend Matt, who we did that other show with. Um, and that is all I did was grab all the text out of our deck, our our primary deck, from the 16 plus hours of training, and dump that into a document, and it's already 35,000 words. Um, and a lot of those words are just bullet points that we can expand into paragraphs. Some of them should stay bullet points. So again, I'm kind of cheating, right? It's like work that I've done before that I'm trying to repackage to be something useful and something interesting, but also meet this goal of doing 2 projects a year. So that's it. I mean, you just kind of do it. Uh, what motivates me to publish? Why do I do it? That's a really good question. And I'm not doing one of those. That's a really good question while I try and think of an answer. But that is a really good question because I think for a long time, I have been very concerned about the heat death of the universe. Let me explain. Um, the pitch that I make around this is like, you know, there was someone long ago who made the first version of what is now like modern shoes. And I'm sure someone knows who that is, but for the most part, we don't think about it. Um, the point being, like a long enough time passes, you are forgotten. So if publishing things and putting art out into the world is there's an aspect of that which is like I want to be known, I don't want to be forgotten, I want to live on after my death. Um, that has never really resonated with me because I just know eventually no one's going to care. And also, people might not care in the meantime, which is fine. But um, I think that that is both true and something that I do feel it's also been an excuse to not try. And I think that that conversation with James and Marlowe on that December in 2021, it was many conversations before that, but there was something about that conversation that I thought I want. I have these stories that some people that I care about say are good, and I don't feel like they're saying that just to make me feel better, like they actually enjoy it. I've things I've written have made people cry, and not in the good Lord, I'll never get that time back kind of way. Maybe a little of that. So I know that I can write, and I figure I have these stories. It's something that isn't UX, which for a long time now I've wanted to divest myself from UX. Not from the skills, not from the methods, but just what UX has become. And and writing is something that I can do on my own, even though I've been doing some collaborative pieces um, that I can do on my own. I can self-publish on my own. I can poorly do marketing on my own, and it's something that I can have control over. So I think that that's an aspect too. Is like I can control this thing, um, and partially in a control freak kind of way, but also it's just that's one of the things about UX that it should be collaborative, but it isn't collaborative for the most part, and the ways that it is collaborative tend to be more on the uh, ineffectual to toxic range. And so I think I just need something that I can control in my life and ship. And if it's good, great. And if it's not good, that's okay. Um, so, yeah, that's why I do it. Plus, they're good stories, except for some of the poems. I'm not happy with some of the poems, but whatever. They're out there. Nobody buys poetry anyway. It's fine. Is that a reasonable answer? This is the Matthew and Joanna show right now. So, man, I can't believe I read that initially as Camus said. Come on, Camus. Yes, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. Uh, yes, Camus, ever the optimist. Um, yeah, Mm, yeah. We had to read The Stranger in French in college, and that was fun. Um, yeah, I mean Camus' right because if we don't imagine Sisyphus is happy, the alternative is far too bleak. And you got to figure that even Sisyphus has good days and bad days, right? Oh man, hump day for Sisyphus. It's like, oh, I got it over a hump. Oh, this is easy. Oh, it's just a little hump. Okay. No? Okay. Absurdism. Oh my God. Yes. Not to pitch my novel, but you should read my novel. Um, yeah. My one of the, it's not within reach right now, but one of my novels sort of I guess I pay a little homage to it, but what's that word? Like inspiration. There we go. Um, is Andre Breton's Nadia. And I don't know if you've ever read that, but um, but yeah, it's I definitely love the more surreal, absurdist. Um, Thinking of how, uh, wow, I am totally blanking on names today. Rhinoceros. He also wrote The Bald Soprano. Their plays. Ionesco, Eugenia Ionesco. Um, like Rhinoceros, absurd play, totally relevant for what's going on in the U.S. today. But yeah, I love absurdism or surrealism as ways of expressing um, the emotional lens of reality. So it is surreal, but it is truth. It's just the emotional truth of, he said, overly diluting the point. But um, yeah. Anyway, yay! Classic conversation with Matthew. UX. We haven't talked about capitalism yet, but literature, wide ranging, all over the place. Tell me you have ADHD without telling me you have ADHD. Um, Joanna, where did you find the link to this? Was it on LinkedIn or Blue Sky or Blue Sky? Good old Blue Sky. Someone actually saw something on Blue Sky? Amazing. I was on it for a while, and then um, the initial flood of Twitter leavers came over, and I started following some more people. And I decided to use Blue Sky differently than I used Twitter in the past, where for from 2006 to about probably 2015 or so, like I wouldn't follow anybody on Twitter unless I could hear their voice in my head, um, because I wanted it. It started as a way to stay connected with the people that you know, and then it changed, and it changed again. Whatever. But with Blue Sky, I've decided that I should follow other people, and now it's just a deluge of stuff. And so I can understand, like, I follow people that I know on here, and I'm like, oh, I haven't heard from Brian in a while, and he's posted a few things, and I didn't see them because it's just a deluge. So, not fully enjoyable, but um, yeah. All right. Well, hey, that's great. I I feel like I there's a way, not that you necessarily want this, Joanna, but I feel like there's a way to sort of promote people to being on camera on audio, and that's what I was talking about with the Y Live thing. I don't know if you remember that, but it was something that, what was they called, the Brick House, something like that. Yahoo had an experimental team that did stuff, and Y Live was like, you know, basically what a lot of these systems are today, where you can have multiple people on camera and people could be sort of promoted to be on camera or just be in the chat. But this was 2007, 2008, something like that. And it was really fun. But like with a lot of these companies, they just said, hey, there's this cool thing. Let's tank it and also fire these people. All right. That's 40 minutes. That's fine. Any other questions? You don't have to have questions. I have questions. I'm just questioning everything. Man, I feel like there's a way to do it. I'm not going to put you on camera or anything, but I feel like there's a way to do it. But I can't figure it out. For next time. Anyway, all right, I'm going to wrap it. Thank you for helping me through this. I appreciate it. All right, good night, everybody. Let's stop talking.